Desperate little girl's pain exposed, Millionaire's unexpected act transforms her life forever. Lily sat on the worn-out couch in their rundown apartment, staring blankly at the peeling paint on the walls. Each flake represented a piece of her childhood, a reminder of how dreams like hers could fade away amidst life's harsh realities. She wanted to be an astronaut, to soar among the stars, but at school, the taunts left deep wounds. "Look at her home," they sneered, eyes glimmering with malice. "She thinks she can reach the sky." Each insult sent a shiver through her spine, and the vibrant hopes she carried crumbled like the floors of their old place. Between the relentless bullying and her mom's long, exhausting shifts as a waitress, the weight of despair felt suffocating. How could she fight back against the pain when her heart carried the burden of love for her mother? As unfair as it seemed, their life weighed heavily on Lily, illicitly fusing guilt and anger within her tender soul. No amount of wishful thinking could change their circumstances. She sighed, dug her fingernails into her palms, and pondered how many stars were in the sky that could never be hers. Days passed, and with them, the pain amplified. At school, a new bruise formed, verbal and emotional, whispered as undertones in the classroom, steady reminders that her existence was a joke. It left her mind racing, an internal whirlwind of noise drowning out her passion for science and the cosmos. Just when she felt the walls closing in, she discovered something extraordinary. A forgotten science lab hidden in the shadows of her neighborhood, overflowing with dusty books and quirky remnants of experiments long abandoned. Lost amidst the clutter, she found an old journal, its pages yellowing with time, filled with sketches of stars and planets. The heartbeat of excitement clashed with the memories of ridicule echoing in her thoughts. Could she genuinely embrace this new flame? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the journal's words sank into her bones, a flicker of determination sparked within, only to be stifled by the crushing weight of financial struggle. Images of her mother, weary yet fierce, filled her thoughts. How could Lily abandon her dreams when Sarah fought so hard? But the reality was brutal. Her classmates wouldn't care about star charts or newfound discoveries. They only saw a poor girl in a broken home. That burden grew heavier each day. On the brink of losing hope, she faced a crossroads. Should she dive deep into this newfound passion, risking the scorn of her peers, or retreat back into silence, keeping her heart safe but dimmed? It felt as if a storm was brewing, tensions swirling, uncertainty curled around her like barbed wire. What if stepping out led her even deeper into despair instead of toward the stars? As the voices of her classmates echoed in her mind, she realized that the most significant challenge might not just be the circumstances, but what it would mean to believe in herself against all odds. Yet, amid her anguish, the world outside continued to turn, and unbeknownst to her, another soul felt the resonance of her struggle, ready to challenge those very barriers. Would their paths soon intersect, weaving together vulnerability and resilience in an unexpected way? The weight of indecision pressed heavily on Lily's chest. Each day melded into the next, a relentless cycle of taunts at school and invisible burdens at home. After finding the journal, she often retreated into a world of dreams, a place where the cosmos unfolded endlessly, untainted by the ridicule that thrived in the halls of her school. Yet each plunge into that world brought with it a painful reminder of how distant her ambitions felt. She sat down with the journal again, tracing her fingers across the faded sketches, imagining each star as a beacon guiding her forward. With the end of the school year approaching, the prospect of summer vacation loomed like a double-edged sword. It could mean the freedom to indulge her newfound interests, but it also promised more time away from the classroom, more silence that would only echo the jeers of her peers. The thought gnawed at her. Could she reclaim her voice, her passion, amidst the cacophony of disbelief that seemed to follow her? That evening, she decided to confront her uncertainty directly. As the sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, she took the journal into the backyard. She needed air, space to breathe beyond the confining walls of home. The stars began to twinkle overhead, small glimmers of possibility. Closing her eyes, she envisioned herself standing on a distant planet, her feet firm on solid ground. "You have to try," she whispered to herself. "You can't let them win." Fueled by that fleeting moment of vigor, she devised a plan. She would create a presentation based on the journal's content, her newfound knowledge about the universe, and share it with her classmates. At first, the thought was terrifying. What if they laughed? But the idea also sparked a potential change in the narrative. What if they listened? For the first time, a flicker of the defiance she felt in those moments of dreaming transformed into a tangible goal. Days cascaded into one another as she prepared, poring over the faded sketches and scribbled notes, with a fierce focus. Each page turned felt like a step toward carving out her identity, drawing closer to the girl she wished to embody. With every diagram of planets and stars she meticulously recreated, she felt the once dormant fire within her begin to blaze anew. The day of her presentation arrived, draped in an air of anxious anticipation. The murmurs in the classroom felt like a growing tide, and her heart quickened as she stood at the front, her palms slick with sweat. But with the first words spoken, she felt a shift. She spoke not only about the gems glimmering in the night sky but also about resilience, the importance of dreaming beyond the visible horizon. As the words flowed, she sensed an unfamiliar rhythm, the crowd's initial skepticism giving way to curiosity. Faces that had once sneered at her began to soften, eyes widened in intrigue. Could it be possible? Perhaps they were more receptive than she had imagined. But just as hope flickered into something tangible, a voice punctured the atmosphere. "What do you know about space, Lily? You're just a charity case." The interruption resonated in the room like a strike of lightning, brash, relentless. Her heart sank, the walls of her security crashing inwards. Yet buried in that moment was an opportunity, a decision lay before her, to retreat into silence, or transform the pain into power. In that heartbeat of hesitation, she rose to the challenge. Her voice rang out, each word fueled by years of doubt, anger, and renewed determination. "I may not have everything, but I have my dreams. And I will pursue them, no matter what." The air shifted, the challenge hanging like a thread between her and the audience. Would her resolve be enough? Outside, the night sky was filled with stars, hungry for connection, just as she was. What awaited her beyond this moment? What new confrontations lurked on the horizon? As she absorbed the energy in the room, she couldn't help but wonder if the journey ahead would ultimately lead her to the stars or reveal a truth she had yet to face. As Lily stood rooted in front of her peers, the weight of silence enveloped her. Her pulse quickened, each beat thundering in her ears as she faced the challenge head-on. For a brief moment, it felt as though she were suspended between two worlds, the timid girl who had been constantly belittled, and the braver version of herself that dreamed of cosmic adventures. The sharp voice that had derided her lingered like an unwelcome fog, but it was also the spark she needed. "I will pursue them, no matter what." And those words, her own declaration, caught the attention of the room, transforming despair into strength. A flicker of resolve flickered in the shadows of her mind. Perhaps, for the first time, she could grasp a sliver of what her dreams truly meant. The environment shifted. Tentative glances turned into nods, eyebrows uniting in intrigue. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a small group of students whispering to one another, their expressions a mix of curiosity and acknowledgement. Could it be that her passion sparked recognition, however small? As she drew from her deeper convictions, she articulated her passion for exploration and wonder, not just as facts from her journal but as personal stories woven into her existence. With newfound confidence, she leaned into her narrative. She shared a tale of perseverance, how dreams often emerged from darkness and struggle. "Every star represents hope," she asserted, drawing the audience in. "And if I can be hope despite my challenges, then anyone can." Her voice sharpened, revealing layers of honesty seldom shared. Revealing her dreams amidst her struggles felt liberating. They no longer defined her but propelled her forward. Yet, she was acutely aware of the lurking shadows in the back of her mind, kept at bay by her determination. What if the words she had fought to reclaim fell short? Once her presentation concluded, she welcomed questions, prepared to defend her vision. "What do you know about space, Lily?" Echoed again, but this time, the words lacked venom, replaced with a curious inflection. This was an opportunity to address the doubt earlier experienced, almost as if her challenges had illuminated a path toward connection. "I've learned that space is a reflection of our very human experience. It's full of wondrous discoveries and harsh realities, just like life," she replied, her stance firm. The words went beyond the surface. They held weight and conviction. For the first time, she felt that her voice had power, resonating naturally with her peers. Questions flew in after that, genuine inquiries about the universe and its mysteries, reflecting not only curiosity but an emerging respect. As she answered, she relished the current of engagement, realizing the very narrative she'd once doubted now held a spark of truth. But as with all stories, there was a complication that refused to be ignored. Over the sounds of discovery, the lingering doubts punched through the optimism she had cultivated. Would it stay this way? Would her classmates bestow upon her the acceptance she craved, or would the darkness of ridicule rear its head again? The bell rang, heralding the end of class and breaking her concentration, but Lily could feel the social dynamics shifting, if only slightly. As her peers strolled past her, no particular disdain lingered. Instead, she sensed recognition, perhaps even admiration. However, she knew that this battle was but a small triumph in the broader horizon of her fight for self-acceptance and validation. What was to come? Summer stretched ahead, and with it came the promise of exploration and the fear of isolation. How would she carry this momentum into the future? The excitement in her heart wrestled with the panic coiling around her mind. With each passing moment, she understood one thing. It was time to move beyond her presentation and actively pursue opportunities that could ground her dreams in reality. Would she find the courage to push beyond the classroom, to invite further confrontation with her fears? The stars beckoned higher, and so too did her ambition. The question was whether she would follow their light or retreat back into the shadows. As Lily stepped out of the classroom, her heart raced not from anxiety, but from a pulse of nascent ambition. The sun flooded the hallway with warmth, yet a chill wrapped around her thoughts. How to evolve this fragile confidence into something more enduring? Each step echoed back her presentation, a reminder of the girl who dared to proclaim her dreams. The expectations of summer loomed like an uncharted galaxy. She had seized the moment in front of her classmates, transforming vulnerability into strength. But could she canvas that resolve onto the vastness of her life away from the classroom? Would there be arenas beyond the school walls where she'd reclaim her right to be heard? A swirling mix of hope and trepidation formed a knot in her stomach as she thought about her next steps. The local astronomy club had been mentioned in passing. The idea teased her mind. What if she joined? However, each thought of engagement was swiftly countered by a barrage of what-ifs. What if she didn't fit in? What if her voice crumbled again against the tides of others? Yet, she pushed herself through the door of self-doubt, acknowledging her yearning to explore. Amidst the whispers of anxiety, a flicker ignited. This decision could propel her closer to the dreams she so fiercely articulated. With a final breath of resolve, she typed a message into her phone, inquiring about meetings. A few moments later, she hit send and felt a tidal wave of anticipation wash over her. Her mornings transformed as she filled them with research, devouring information on celestial bodies, discovery missions, and the stories of astronomers who once faced ridicule. Each fact unearthed ignited her passion, drawing her deeper into the universe, stitching together threads of knowledge that she had long deemed inaccessible. But there was another transformation brewing inside her, one that felt almost unsettling. She was no longer merely an observer but an eager participant in the cosmic dance of understanding. Weeks pressed on, filled with a spectrum of emotions. Each day spent in her room transformed it into a sanctuary, plastering the walls with constellations and planetary maps. Yet, shadows of doubt would creep in, often during late-night reflections. Would she truly belong to this world she yearned to be a part of? Then, an email arrived, an update from the astronomy club welcoming her to their next stargazing event. Elation surged, but right next, doubt bubbled with bile. She considered the potential judgment from existing members. Was she skilled enough? Worthy enough to be around those who already seemed to belong? In the days leading up to the event, her thoughts fluctuated from excitement to dread. It was on the eve of the gathering when something shifted. She looked in the mirror and said to herself, "You have every right to seek this." The act of speaking her ambitions into reality felt like a ritual, soothing her anxieties with its acknowledgement. The evening of the event glimmered with anticipation. She dressed with intention, choosing a simple star-print blouse that reminded her of the passions she now embraced. Pulling up to the location, she felt an electric pulse, her heart rising and falling as she parked. She could see a small group already gathered, chattering animatedly. With each step toward the strangers, a new realization washed over her. These were not so different from the peers she had encountered before. The hesitation in her heart battled with a rising courage, pushing her forward. Yet, as she approached, an unsettling figure loomed, a girl from her class, the very one whose disapproval had once stung her deeply. The moment felt suspended in air, as if the universe held its breath. Would her arrival incite further dread or lead to acceptance? Would she retreat from her budding determination or step boldly into the unknown? The stakes felt higher than ever, and her next move would shape the trajectory of her journey. As she caught the girl's eye in the crowd, the weight of her past mingled with the thrill of potential future interactions. This time, it would be different. She could feel it. The question pulsed in the air: was she ready to confront the specters of her past, or would she remain an unwilling captive of her narrative? Lily steadied her breath, every heartbeat drumming a different question in her mind. The group before her buzzed with animated discussion, yet all she could hear was the ominous echo of her own self-doubt. She wasn't just stepping toward a club, she was crossing the threshold into untested waters, navigating a sea filled with potential judgment and rejection. Every ounce of her being screamed to back away, to retreat to the comfort of familiar loneliness where the stakes were lower. But the brief thrill of ambition from her classroom presentation remained fresh, a beacon pushing her toward that significance she so desperately craved. With each calculated step closer, she rehearsed 1,000 scenarios in her mind. What if she spoke and no one listened? What if she stumbled over her words? Or worse, what if they dismissed her passion as juvenile? As she reached the outskirts of the gathering, the familiar face from her class began to approach. A blend of apprehension and fierce determination coursed through her veins. Could she even acknowledge her past when it felt so relevant, so vulnerable? The girl, Caroline, had an air of confident ease about her, as if this cosmic realm had been a foundation to her social stature. In contrast, Lily felt like an intruder on hallowed ground, her heart pounding in contradiction to her mind's fervent protests. "What are you doing here?" Caroline's tone was steeped in surprise, a reaction that shouldn't have stung, but nonetheless pierced through Lily's fabricated armor. "I came to see the stars," Lily said, forcing her voice to remain steady as she felt every challenge wrapped in that question. It was as if Caroline had unconsciously struck at something deeper, something Lily had yet to unpack. "And you think that you'll just join us?" Caroline's brow arched, skepticism dancing in her eyes. In that moment, the fragile confidence Lily had nurtured seemed to teeter precariously. Yet behind her doubt surged another voice, stronger and sharper, cultivated from weeks of late-night research and passionate study. "I think I can. I mean, I'm really interested in astronomy, and like you know anything," Caroline interrupted, her dismissal veiled beneath a veneer of amusement. Defensiveness ignited within Lily, but she quelled that flame with a flicker of resolve. "I might surprise you. Maybe you don't know everything about me." The surrounding voices began to fade as she stepped further into the circle, folding tightly around her heart. Perhaps it was the combined weight of her defiance and vulnerability that encouraged the others to look her way. There was a pause, and a boy with tousled hair and an engaging smile, identified as Mark, took the opportunity to introduce himself. "Hey, I'm Mark. Welcome. The more, the merrier." And there it was, the tipping point she needed. Someone else recognized her. With that simplicity, Mark's warmth thawed her defenses, weaving a possibility for belonging that hadn't existed moments before. The conversation began to flow. Celestial topics animated the group, sparking inspiration and drawing her into the folds of their enthusiasm. Yet, every time she shared a thought, she felt a sharpness from Caroline's gaze, a reminder of the judgment that lingered just outside their circle. In between discussions of exoplanets and telescope techniques, a growing realization began to dawn within Lily. Those specters of her past didn't weigh her down unless she allowed them. She could assert her identity in this space, a choice only she could make. As the evening deepened, she contributed her thoughts, surprising even herself with what she could articulate under pressure. Each shared piece of knowledge served two purposes. It built her confidence, and slowly began to chip away at Caroline's dismissive facade. Yet, the tension remained like an undercurrent. Their interaction would not simply resolve itself. "Maybe you should stick to the basics," Caroline called out as Lily described a particularly challenging concept. The words were sharp, meant to slice, but they carried less weight this time. Lily exhaled, grounding herself, shifting the internal dialogue from one of defensiveness to a measured calm. "I think I've managed to handle a challenge or two in the past, Caroline." And there, in that moment, she felt herself evolve. Lily realized that maybe this astronomy club wasn't simply about stars. It was about navigating her own constellation of courage. Every interaction would either reinforce her self-worth or serve as a test of resilience. One question pulsed subtly beneath the surface. Could she truly redefine her narrative amongst those who hadn't been part of her history? The complexities of connection swirled, urging her to discover her strength. But as Caroline's demeanor remained defiant, a deeper confrontation loomed on the horizon. Would their dynamic evolve into acceptance, or would it remain an unyielding debate that shadowed her journey? The stars twinkled above as uncertainty flickered in her chest. The next encounter could change everything. Lily stood at the center of the circle, a remarkable transformation unfolding within her. The exhilaration was palpable, almost intoxicating, as she began to realize that not only was she engaged in this conversation about astronomy, but she was also reconstructing her identity piece by piece. Each fact she recited about nebulae and black holes seemed to serve as a brick in the wall she was building around her self-worth. Yet, as Mark smiled and offered thoughtful follow-up questions, she couldn't shake off Caroline's cold, critical gaze. It pierced through the fellowship around her like a laser, amplifying her insecurities. Each disparaging remark from Caroline became a test, a challenge to sustain the momentum of her newfound courage. The unease in her stomach bubbled up just as she was about to offer another insight. "But isn't it fascinating how light bends around a black hole? It's like gravity's way of playing hide and seek," Lily said. The others nodded, intrigued, yet she felt the weight of Caroline's dismissive snicker in the back of her mind. "Right," Caroline shot back, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Just try not to get lost in the black hole of your fantasy." Lily clenched her fists briefly, the urge to retort fueling her frustration. This was a vital moment where she could either succumb to Caroline's scorn or rise above it. Here she was, navigating not just astronomical thoughts but also the complex gravity of personal interaction. "Maybe," she replied evenly, "but sometimes what seems impossible can actually be a path to understanding something greater. Just like how those of us who aren't core members can still offer valuable perspectives." Mark jumped in, genuinely curious. "What do you mean by that?" "It's true that sometimes outsiders have the best ideas." The encouragement from him, however unintended, bolstered her confidence. Just then, a flicker of consideration from Caroline passed over her face, but just as quickly, it shifted back to cynicism. "This ISNTA class, Lily. You're gonna need to step it up if you want to keep talking," she shot back, a range of emotions flashing in her eyes. Was it contempt? Fear? Lily took a step back, realizing she had a choice in this dynamic. Her professional development hinged not just on expanding her knowledge base but on asserting her right to participate in spaces historically filled with skepticism towards her. The thought energized her. Rather than shrink back, she had to harness this moment for growth. "Then suggest a topic," Lily challenged, deciding to engage from a place of assertion rather than withdrawal. Caroline faltered, catching herself mid-sentence. The air became charged with tension, This was more than just a disagreement. It was a battleground for respect and acknowledgement. Miraculously, the others leaned in, furthering the discussion on solar systems. As they began bouncing ideas off each other, Lily realized how freeing this exchange felt. The fear that had held her captive was gradually dissolving. Every thought she articulated felt liberating, prompting an acknowledgement that was starting to resonate in the group. And yet, that antagonism from Caroline lingered in unresolved conflict that loomed larger than expected. The evening wore on, fear increasingly tangled with excitement. Caroline still held a grudge, a challenging itch that signified much more than a casual confrontation. What exactly was Caroline defending? Was it simply ego, or was there a deeper undercurrent of insecurity lurking beneath her bravado? The arc of their interactions lingered, presenting a fork in the road. Lily felt a shift within her. She yearned for resolution and acceptance, yet she knew the road ahead would be laden with challenges. As the gathering dwindled and the stars began to twinkle more vibrantly overhead in deepening twilight, a growing resolve resided in Lily. She'd have to confront Caroline more directly next time. Something inside her whispered that this was about far more than astronomy. Would challenging Caroline eventually forge a connection, or would it only serve to highlight their differences? The stakes seemed to rise with the moon above, and as uncertainty fused with determination, Lily knew tomorrow's encounter would push her boundaries even further. The morning sunlight poured through Lily's window, illuminating the array of notes and books scattered across her desk, each page teeming with information about the vastness of space, and more profoundly, about who she was becoming. It was as if the universe itself was nudging her to reimagine her place within its grand design. Yet behind that bright facade lay an echo of dread. Today's confrontation with Caroline hovered over her, looming like a shadowy planet. Lily dressed carefully, selecting a blouse that felt both confident and professional. The fabric brushed against her skin comfortingly, almost like armor before a battle. She could feel the frayed edges of anxiety pulling at her resolve, but she pushed through, reminding herself of the breakthroughs she had felt last night. She could no longer tiptoe around Caroline's toxicity. It was time to confront the unrelenting gaze that threatened to unravel her newfound identity. As she stepped onto campus, the chatter of students around her fell into a steady hum, background noise to mentally prepare her for the storm ahead. What would she say? How would Caroline respond? She rehearsed every phrase in her mind, each scenario intertwining with the crescendo of her heartbeat. It became apparent that this wasn't merely about Caroline. This was about her reclaiming her narrative from the sidelines. The meeting room buzzed with early arrivals, and as she entered, her eyes immediately found Caroline sitting at the far end, a smirk painting her face when their eyes locked. That flicker of recognition sent a shudder of vulnerability through Lily, but she steadied herself, reminding herself that doubt had no place in this moment. "Let's dive into our topic today," Mark announced, but Lily could feel the air shift. It was as if Caroline's antagonism possessed a gravitational pull, trying to draw everyone into her cloud of skepticism. With every observation shared, every fact about the solar systems discussed, Lily felt her determination swell. She waited for a moment, an opportune pause before clearing her throat. "Caroline, can we talk about something?" Everyone turned, and the atmosphere shifted. The eyes of her peers flickered with curiosity, as though awaiting a duel in a coliseum. Caroline's eyebrows raised, her curiosity masked in feigned innocence. "Sure, why don't you enlighten us with your next brilliant idea?" Lily felt a surge of adrenaline course through her. "I think we both want to contribute here, but it seems there's often some kind of friction between the two of us. Instead of dismissing each other, how about we try to understand what we can each bring to the table?" The sincerity in her voice was palpable, surprising even herself. She saw a flicker of something in Caroline's eyes. Was it apprehension? For the first time, she wasn't inviting conflict but rather dialogue. Caroline's expression soured, yet the tension among their peers felt charged with anticipation rather than hesitation. "I don't see what there is to discuss. You have to earn your place, not expect it," Caroline replied, her tone sharp yet wavering. Lily felt every pulse within her screaming to retreat. But she pressed on, determined to dismantle this wall of animosity. And yet here we are, on the same team, with mutual goals. Isn't that worth exploring? Their gazes locked, and in that moment, it became clear to Lily that this wasn't solely about her battle for recognition. It was about challenging the very nature of how people interact, how they choose to build or break each other down. Mark interjected, sensing the weight of their confrontation. I think this is a productive discussion. We can all benefit from hearing different perspectives, especially from those willing to assert themselves. Lily realized how powerful that was. Mark was defending her. In this collective space, amidst the unexpected camaraderie, a flicker of hope ignited within her. But just as things appeared to open up, Lily noticed Caroline's expression morph into something darker, a silent vow of retaliation looming behind her otherwise placid exterior. The meeting continued, but the atmosphere had fundamentally shifted. Lily could feel a newfound space within her, a robust feeling of possibility intertwined with the weight of Caroline's unresolved conflict. Would she face another backlash? As the session wrapped, Lily felt a surge of optimism settle within, but it was mingled with the recognition that the true challenge was just beginning. Tomorrow, they would have another meeting. What more could she uncover? With Caroline's impending pushback ahead, she could feel herself standing at the precipice of something monumental, a confrontation that would cement her place or potentially unleash the chaos she feared so deeply. Little did she know that the tensions would force her to confront not just Caroline, but the very foundation of her self-worth. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm glow that softened the edges of the campus buildings as Lily trudged back to her dorm. Her heart pulsed erratically, the weight of the day's events anchoring her thoughts like heavy stones in her chest. The confrontation with Caroline had initiated a chain reaction. She could feel the echoes of doubt banging against the internal walls she had built. As she crossed the quad, Lily replayed her words in her mind, analyzing each sentence for weaknesses she could harness against Caroline in their next meeting. Did her approach really foster understanding, or had it merely exposed her as vulnerable? She could almost hear Caroline's laughter, a musical note sharp with disdain. Maybe her sincerity had been uncalculated, a naive attempt at bridging a chasm that had no ladder. Her thoughts spiraled as she opened the door to her room. The scent of old books and the remaining echoes of laughter that had once filled these four walls enveloped her. She sank onto her bed, staring at the ceiling, pondering her place in this strange cosmic ballet. She wasn't here just to navigate academic discourse. She was grappling with something much bigger than hypothetical black holes and the mysteries of the universe. She was on a journey of self-discovery, and Caroline was a formidable asteroid in her orbit. Lily retrieved her notebook from the desk, flipping through the pages filled with ideas and theories. Somewhere along the line, she had started keeping a list of personal triumphs, moments where she had felt brave or resilient. After the day's events, she realized that this habit was more than just a way to document achievements. It was a record of her growth, a tactical map of her strengths. She picked up her pen, jotting down confrontation with Caroline alongside another milestone. Express thoughts in a group. A knock on her door interrupted her introspection. It was Melissa, her roommate, with a concerned look painted across her face. Hey, you okay? I watched that entire meeting. It was intense. Lily offered a half-hearted smile. Yeah, I just need to process things. Melissa sat down on the edge of Lily's bed, her gaze steady. You held your ground today, you know. That's a big deal. People noticed. A small spark of pride flickered within Lily. But I didn't change anything. Caroline is still Caroline. What if changing things takes time? You've just started to assert yourself. It's not something that happens overnight, Melissa encouraged, placing a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. Honestly, it's more than just winning a debate. It's about establishing your voice. Her roommate's words resonated with an authenticity that reverberated within her. For too long, Lily had allowed Caroline's judgment to cloud her confidence. She had let her define what success and validation looked like, yet in that moment, she was reminded that her journey was hers alone. That night, as she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling now awash in moonlight, Lily began to envision what her future could look like. A stronger version of herself who didn't flinch when confronted with fear. Resilience was not merely surviving difficult encounters, it was thriving against them. She needed to break free from the gravitational pull of Caroline's negativity. The idea of becoming a steadfast presence akin to the stars she admired filled her with a newfound determination. As she began to drift off to sleep, her thoughts shifted to the next meeting. Caroline's impending retaliation loomed ominously, but Lily felt herself move forward to meet it head-on. She would prepare herself not just to defend her ideas but to bask in her growth. Tomorrow, she would lay the groundwork to keep Caroline at bay. But in the shadows of her resolve lurked a deep-seated question: could she prepare for a fight and still remain open to the possibility of understanding? What if the confrontation she dreaded provided a hidden opportunity for something greater? The morning light filtered into Lily's room, illuminating the notebooks sprawled on her desk. The ink of last night's reflections drew her gaze, reminding her of the terrible beauty of overcoming fear. She could feel the anticipation buzz in her veins. Today was the day, her next encounter with Caroline, a logistical chess match where each move could either solidify her growth or plunge her back into doubt. After a quick breakfast, Lily made her way to the student center for their scheduled meeting. Her steps were deliberate, the air thick with both excitement and trepidation. The vision of herself standing tall against Caroline danced in her mind like a flickering flame, pushing away shadows of self-doubt. She had prepared meticulously, outlining her arguments, anticipating counterpoints, and recalibrating her responses until they felt like instinct rather than rehearsed phrases. As she entered the room, the usual clamor of students morphed into background noise. Caroline, already seated, radiated the confidence of a seasoned strategist, arms crossed, looking every bit the adversary Lily had come to know. The intensity of the moment prickled at her skin. This was at the point of no return. Lily sat down, fixing her gaze on the loose papers before her, suddenly conscious of the power dynamics at play. But the familiar sense of intimidation began to ebb. Melissa's words echoed anew. "It's about establishing your voice." She couldn't just react to Caroline, she had to assert herself. With each passing minute, Lily found pockets of calm within the storm. She greeted Caroline with a nod, her heart steadying with each breath. The conversation commenced, their voices rising and falling in echoes of tension and competition. Caroline wielded her arguments like weapons, immediate and aggressive, often cutting Lily off mid-sentence. But unlike before, a newfound resolve danced in Lily's chest. She wouldn't shrink, she embraced the chaos. Just as Caroline launched a particularly biting critique, Lily interrupted gently but firmly. "I appreciate your perspective, Caroline, but please allow me to finish." The atmosphere flickered, uncertainty hanging in the air. Caroline's brows furrowed, momentarily taken aback. "Fine. Contribute your thoughts. Let us see what you have." Lily seized the moment, explaining her viewpoint with clarity, her previous anxieties fading like smoke in the wind. The vibrant expression of her ideas resonated with the group, unexpected nods forming amongst her peers. Could it be? Was that the first flicker of respect? As the discussion intensified, Lily also leaned into the discomfort of probing questions. "But is that really the most effective solution?" she directed toward Caroline, mirroring the assertiveness she had long held back. Each exchange became a riff on a shared melody rather than a battleground. The meeting unfolded chaotically, but Lily found herself navigating the complex terrain of opinions without losing sight of her own. Each sentence she articulated felt like an act of defiance against Caroline's previous dominance. She noticed the way her words began to draw people into the dialogue, shifting the narrative from a duel into a collaboration. Inspiration flared like sparks between them, and for the first time, there seemed to be potential for understanding buried beneath the friction. But just as the atmosphere shifted positively, Caroline retreated into a defensive posture. The tension morphed as her irritation and passive-aggressive remarks resurfaced, like a glacier cracking under pressure. "You think you can just assert yourself after being quiet for so long? You don't know the first thing about the stakes here," Caroline sneered, venom lacing her tone. Lily's heart sank momentarily. She could feel the familiar feelings of being belittled invade her psyche, the old wounds of insecurity threatening to reach out and pull her back. But a flicker of defiance ignited within. Was this the moment to crumble or to transcend? Determined not to succumb to Caroline's provocations, she chose confrontation over retreat. And yet here I stand, ready to engage, she replied, her voice steady. I may not have known, but I'm willing to learn and grow. As the meeting progressed, Lily wrestled with a tumult of emotions. The echo of Caroline's words lingered, but the resolve she had cultivated pushed her forward, reminding her that not all battles were to be won in silence. As the group concluded their discussions and the meeting dispersed, Lily took a deep breath, pride swelling within her. The confrontation had been intense, revealing both her vulnerabilities and strengths. Yet, the question she had tackled lingered in the back of her mind: was she truly prepared to maintain her newfound assertiveness in the face of adversity? That uncertainty shadowed her triumph. One thing was clear: the battle with Caroline had merely begun, and she could already sense the next encounter simmering beneath the surface, charged with the potential for growth and revelation. What would emerge from their next confrontation, she wondered, as she stepped out into the sunlight? Lily stepped onto the stage of her life, the enormity of the moment settling in like the stillness before a rocket launch. The ridicule and self-doubt that had followed her were merely remnants of a past that no longer defined her. Standing in front of her classmates, now her peers, she felt the warm glow of recognition, a light illuminating the space she had fought so hard to claim. Today was not just another day. Today marked the culmination of her relentless pursuit for validation and purpose. With a palpable confidence radiating from her core, she began her speech, not just sharing the science of the cosmos, but weaving her own narrative of resilience and discovery into her words. Space represents not just vastness, but an exploration of the self. Each of us has stars to reach for, challenges that shape us. Familiar faces from her earlier years of torment blinked in surprise, drawn into her vision. The taunts she'd endured became mere background noise, overtaken by her newfound clarity of purpose. As she transitioned from sharing stellar facts to recounting her experience, she recognized an audience that had shifted. They were no longer skeptical, but curious. She spoke of her discovery of the abandoned lab, her love for the stars sown from troubled soil, and the rise above adversity that challenged her faith in herself. The room thrummed with a different energy, their gazes locked onto her, devoid of malice, reflecting interest instead. When she finally addressed Caroline, it was not with anger but a sincere invitation to engage. We all enter this journey with different experiences, but our ultimate aim is to learn together. The air felt charged as Caroline's brows furrowed, a flicker of respect, or was it surprise, flitted across her features. And in that moment, the complex web of rivalry began to unravel. After her speech concluded, the applause was not just background noise but a crescendo of approval that held the weight of recognition. Lily had proven herself not only capable but a beacon of insight. Students approached her following the presentation, their questions filled with sincerity. Even Caroline approached with a newfound softness, her usual defensive demeanor lost amidst the genuine camaraderie that had blossomed. "Hey, Lily," she started, voice uncharacteristically tentative. "I didn't know you had this in you. Maybe we can collaborate next time?" An olive branch lay before Lily, vibrant against the backdrop of their past entanglement. With a smile that conveyed both strength and grace, Lily replied, "I would really like that." This moment marked a profound leap. It wasn't simply about winning respect. It was about redefining connections, pushing boundaries of the past. The transformations extended beyond those walls. As weeks transitioned into months, Lily found herself not only participating in her astronomy club but leading discussions and guiding new members through their own insecurities. Her journey had galvanized her competence, allowing her to create a ripple effect of empowerment among her peers. They began exploring, studying the celestial bodies together, forging bonds not from pity but through shared curiosity and ambitions that soared higher than any stars. It was during a stargazing event at the end of the semester that she finally saw her mother, Sarah, looking on with pride from the sidelines. No longer the timid girl on the couch, she had accomplished the impossible by proving that her dreams were within reach. Lily had transformed her adversities into stepping stones, establishing a position of respect. She was known not just as the girl who aspired to the stars but as the girl who had bravely embraced her narrative to shine brightly in a world that had once dimmed her light. As she stood with her classmates against the backdrop of the night sky, a sense of fulfillment enveloped her. The dreams that had once felt distant now felt tangible, a testament to her resolve, self-belief, and the innate ability to conquer her fears. In that moment, grasping the telescope with hands steady and heart full, she realized she had not only found her voice, but had also forged a path for herself, illuminated by the very stars she gazed upon. Now that you've reached this incredible conclusion and witnessed Lily's transformation, you need to subscribe now to catch more exclusive emotional stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and push these narratives further into the world. We want to hear your thoughts, so don't hesitate to comment your reactions and theories about Lily's journey. And please share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this profound conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share and uplift those around you.